Okay. So now we have looked at two cases till now. So let's look at the third case, which is in this case is case 3, where there are two. We are trying to find out the presence of this force, magnetic force, right? So first case we saw was like there was an existing magnetic field B, and we tried to move a charge in that magnetic field. The second case was there was an existing magnetic field, and we tried to place a current element in that magnetic field, and both of them experienced some force, that was a magnetic force. Now let's look at the third case where there are two current elements placed near each other. Okay, there are two current elements placed near each other. So current elements, to have two current elements, we can first think of having two current loops. Okay, so let's just say that there is a current loop here and there is a current loop here. Okay, so they are close to each other. Let's assume that I1 is the direction of the current. I1 is flowing in this direction in loop 1. If we assume that this is loop 1, current loop 1, and this is loop 2. Okay, loop 2, and I1 is the direction of the current in loop 1, and I1 is the current flowing in loop 1, and its direction is this, counterclockwise, and I2 is the current flowing in loop 2, and its direction is clockwise. Okay, so this is the assumptions we have. So there is a current loop, there is a small current element here. Let's assume a very small current element of length dl1. Okay, so what you will have is I1 dl1 is this current element. Okay, same way there is a small current element here. Assume that it is I2 dl2. Okay, so I2 dl2 is the small current element here. So both of these guys are going to produce magnetic fields, right? So I dl1 is going to produce a magnetic field, and the direction of the magnetic field will be concentric in this way, if you use the right hand thumb rule, right? So it's going to be something like this. Okay, so the current loop generated by this guy dl2 is going to be, if I use the right hand rule, it's going to be this way, right? So it's going to come out like this. It's going to be coming out like this. So think about this guy, it reaches here. So it's going to create a magnetic field in this direction, right? Okay, agree? So think about it like this is the B2 at this point. If I use the tangential value, it's going to come in this direction, right? This will be dB2 because of the current element I dl2. So I2 dl2 creates dB2. Okay, magnetic field at this point. Now this magnetic force, and it's like think of a scenario. Now this is a magnetic field which is existing because of this current element here, right? And this current element here is placed inadvertently present in this magnetic field. So we have to apply the case 2 now, because this current element is brought in contact with a magnetic field which is generated by this current element, right? So what will be the force experienced by this current element? The force experienced by this current element here is going to be due to dB2 will be d of dF 1. Okay, d of df1. Why we are assuming d of df1 is it's a I1 dl1 is a current element. I1 dl1 is the current element, small current element, which will experience a force of df1. Okay. Okay. Now, what is the force due to db2? That's a so I1 dl1 experiences a force df1 due to b2. b2 is the magnetic field generated by this current flow. Now we are assuming a very infinitesimally small magnetic field db2 because of this I2 dl2. So this will be d of df1. Okay. So let me just okay, so let's just clear some scenarios here. So db2 is the magnetic field due to I2 dl2 current element. Okay, if b2 is the magnetic field because of this current loop, because of this loop, complete loop 2. Okay, df1 is the force due to force experienced by I1 dl1 placed in a magnetic field b2. Okay, so what will happen is d of df1 is a magnetic force experienced by I1 dl1. Okay, placed in a magnetic field due to the magnetic field db2. Okay, clear? So if I had what will be df1? df1 is due to a force experienced by I1 dl1 due to b2. b2 is what? b2 is the magnetic field generated by the complete loop. Okay, so now we are talking about very small elements here. Clear? So this is what? This is the force experienced by this guy, right? Due to this. What is db2? What is db2? If I use Biot-Savart law, what is db2? I'll need the distance r, right, for that case. Okay, first thing, one more thing which we did not discuss is what will be the direction of the force? What will be the direction of the force? So here, if I just rub this out, what will be the direction of the force? So if I just place this, right, this is the direction of the current element. This is the direction of the current element. This is the direction of the current element. The magnetic force is coming towards in this direction, right? This is the magnetic force. This is the current element. This is the magnetic force, the tangential component, right? So what will happen to the? This is, you can just say that this is the direction of db2, right? Now you have to think about this plane here, and this will be the force. This will be the direction of force, right? This is u, this is b, and if I use the right hand rule, this will be the direction of the force. This is the direction of the force going to be. This is going to be d of df1, right? Yes, because if think of a scenario like if I assume that both the planes are in the book, then the direction of the db2 is going to come out from the book, right? It's going to come out from the book like this, and the direction of the current is this. So the direction of the force will be this way, right? Same thing. Okay. So now for me to find out, coming back to this Biot-Savart law, for me to find out the magnetic field intensity or flux density at this point, because of this current element, I'll have to draw a straight line joining the 2 points, right? And that point will be given as R21, right? So that is my distance. So Biot-Savart law, using Biot-Savart law, I will get dB2 will be equal to mu 0 upon 4 pi into I2 dl2 cross product with unit vector AR21 divided by R21 square, right? So this is the value for dB2 that you will get. Now if I replace this dB2 here in this here, what I'll get is d of df1 will be equal to, so if I replace dB2 in this equation here, then I will get d of df1 as idl cross mu 0 I2 by 4 pi dl2 cross AR21, which will turn out to be mu 0 I1 dl1 cross product with I2 dl2 cross product with AR21, okay, divided by 4 pi R21 square. Okay, so what you have is this direction is going to be in this way here. So okay, this is what I get as d of df1. So now if I want to find out the total force F1, on the current element I1 dl1, okay, on the current element I1 dl1, right, or on the current loop 1 actually, okay. So on this I want to find out the force F1 on this current loop 1 due to a magnetic field produced by loop 2, okay, is going to be I can get out the scalars quantities, mu 0 okay, integral, double integral. This is a closed loop, this is a closed loop. L1 is the loop, closed loop of loop 1, L2 is the closed loop L2 of loop 2. So DL1 cross product with DL2 cross product with AR upon R21 square. So let me just make this one. So do DL2. Okay, so this is the equation for force on loop 1 due to the current element due to the magnetic field produced by loop 2. Okay, so just one thing to notice, loop 1, magnetic field produced by loop 1 never generates exerts a force on the same current element. Okay, so it has to be the magnetic field produced by some other source. Only then there is a force exerted. Clear? It does not exert a force on itself. Okay. Okay. So one thing which I forgot to mention was this is a cross product. So where are your brackets, right? So this is one bracket where you are doing this cross product has to be performed first. Okay. So this I2 DL2 is a current element in loop 2 and AR21 is a unit vector R21 from loop 2 to loop 1. So this is the unit vector. This is the distance from loop 2 to loop 1. The direction is pointing towards loop 1. Okay, and AR21 is the unit vector in this direction. Next you have I1 DL1 is the current element on which the force is experienced upon or and R21 is the distance. That's fine. Okay, so this is the force experienced by loop 1 due to the magnetic field in generated by current loop 2. One thing which we have to consider is what will be the effect of what will be the force on this particular on current loop 2 due to the magnetic field generated by loop 1. Okay, so here let's write this first. This particular thing is force on loop 1 due to magnetic field generated by loop 2, right? So what will be the reverse? This is this guy F1. Okay, what will be the reverse force on loop 2 due to the loop magnetic field generated by loop 1? So that will be, actually you can just say that first thing you have to understand is dF2, which is d of dF2 will be equal to, by using the normal magnetic force definition, I will have current passing through the loop 2, the current element, cross product of the current element and the very small magnetic field generated by I1 D1. Okay, dB, that is your dB1. So this will turn out that if we solve it, it will turn out that F2 will be equal to we will have the same scalar quantities I0, mu0, I1, I2, I2 upon 4 pi and you will have a integral quantity, double integral. This will be L1, loop 1 and loop 2. This is the closed loop L1, L2. You will have PL2 as the first vector, cross product with DL1, cross product with AR1, 2 divided by R12 square. So if one thing which we can notice is this is same as minus of F1. This is what you get. Okay, so the force is actually the magnitude will be same, only the direction will be opposite. Okay, so the force generated by force exerted on loop 2 due to the magnetic field produced by loop 1 is exactly same but in opposite direction to the force generated on loop 1 due to magnetic field produced by loop 2. Here we are saying this is minus because this is a unit vector, right, here. So this is a unit vector here. So this is a unit vector here, right. So only thing, if you see the direction of AR12 is minus of AR21.